guys, Towers here. Welcome back to DMZ. Going to begin this with a cold warm-up. Haven't played the game at all today. Going to hop into the firing range with a just an AR and an SMG. Some kind of AR that I'm used to. Let's see. Let's start out with attack. The TAC 56 is probably the best all-around AR, the most well-rounded. This is the build that we're currently working with. The staple of the build is going to be the 60-round mag and the AP round ammo type attachment, and you're going to see most guys running the 17.5-inch long heavy barrel, and then from there it's kind of just personal preference, but I prefer to run some kind of the attack is not it doesn't have bad recoil, but anything you can do to make the recoil more manageable is going to be good for you. I'm going to choose to run a muzzle device that gives me horizontal recoil control, the Komodo Heavy, and we're going to run a muzzle device instead of a suppressor. Even though a suppressor is going to give you a suppressor will give you some kind of recoil management. It's not outright recoil control. There's recoil steadiness, recoil smoothness, and recoil control. Recoil control is the best stat to go for. That's going to effectively delete a lot of the recoil. It's basically just going to make your bullets shoot more straight, whereas recoil steadiness and smoothness are stats that won't they're not going to take away the recoil, they're just going to make the recoil more predictable, and that's good. But if you can get rid of the recoil, you know, that's even better. So you want to go for recoil control whenever possible, and we're using a muzzle device instead of a suppressor because it's lighter. It's going to improve our weapon's handling characteristics. It's not going to weigh the weapon down as much, so we can move more easily with the weapon. We can get the weapon into full ADS quicker, which will equate to getting more accurate shots on target even faster. So a lot of guys still today will run suppressors, probably mainly for the sound suppression characteristic, but you know, running a suppressed weapon is a dead giveaway that there's an operator nearby. The only bots that are going to be using suppressors are going to be like the tier 3 bots that drop in when you're doing weapon stashes, you know, some other tier 3 bots in like high threat zones, like the mall in Said City and Satik Cave Complex. Some of those guys will have suppressors on their weapons, but it's going to be rare that you're going to have a bot with a suppressed weapon. There is a glitch in the game. It's an audio glitch where sometimes just a regular, even like a tier 1 bot will have audio of a suppressed weapon. That could trip you up a little bit, but a quick visual check will reveal that it's a bot and not a player. So you're actually kind of a little bit more stealthy if you're going to be running an unsuppressed weapon. A player will have to pick out the cadence at which you're shooting and how long that sustained fire is for him to be able to identify that you're a live player and not a bot. But again, the main benefit of running some kind of like flash hider or muzzle device rather than a suppressor is that it's going to give you sometimes better recoil characteristics like the Komodo Heavy will, and it will not weigh down your weapon as much. So you'll be a little bit more agile, a little bit more mobile, and the more mobile you are, the harder you are to hit, and the more likely you're going to be able to put yourself in positions of power and to be able to rotate and basically dodge incoming damage while outputting more accurate damage on your targets. And then finally, we're going to run a ADS laser on the weapon. Even with a long barrel, with the biggest magazine possible, and with some kind of muzzle device on the tack, your ADS time is not bad, but we just want to improve that a little bit because you are going to be losing ADS time with pretty much all weapon attachments you could choose, and people don't realize this, but you know, the magazine alone is gonna take away some of your ADS time. So you're gonna have to always run a big mag on an AR. So the magazine, the barrel, and the muzzle device are going to take away from our ADS time. So we're going to get some of that back with an ADS laser, and we're also going to get some aiming stability and sprint to fire speed. Sprint to fire speed is the time it takes you from a sprint or attack sprint to get the weapon up into a firing position. So that what that means is it's effectively if you build for sprint to fire speed, you're going to be able to output more damage more quickly. You're going to be able to output damage in a more timely fashion. And I'll show you exactly what that is in a second here when we hop into the firing range. But we're going to equip our tack, and in the firing range you're going to load in with whatever gun you select, and then the gun to, or the weapon slot to the right of whatever you pick is going to be your secondary. So if I pick this second insured slot, this second is going to show up as it's my third insured slot, the slot to the right of whatever I pick. Just to show you that I have a Lockman 5.56, and then so I'm going to load in with the firing range with a Lockman, and then when I switch weapons, it's going to be that second. I'm just going to show you that real quickly. So this is the Lockman, and then when I switch weapons, it's going to be the second. Oh, no, it's actually going to be our first weapon. So let's see if we can replicate that. Yeah, so for some reason right now it's actually going to the left instead of the right. Let's see if that works on the third slot. So if I load in with the second, it should give me this tack here. Let's see if that's the case. So it should be the tack 56 in my first slot, and it is. So let's try that again with the tack. I'm going to load in with the tack. It should give me this Lockman as my secondary. And it does there. It seems to be only different on the second insured slot. Let's try that one more time. It should be this Sakin, but it looks like it's going to give me this tack to my left instead. Yeah, so I think it's basically acting as a primary and secondary. So we're going to change up this secondary slot to an SMG, and we're just going to use just a regular bot Vaznev build. I'm going to switch it to a stockless mod. This is how the Vaznev is going to be found most commonly in the game, as ground loot. The bots that are running Vaznevs, like the tier 1 bots, are going to have the weapon in this configuration, and the tier 2 bots and the tier 3 bots that hold Vaznevs are going to be running it in this configuration with the stock still attached. But most commonly you're going to find the Vaznev like this, as there's just more tier 1 bots all over the map. So that's how we're going to practice, is with the weapon in its most common configuration. And we have a build that capitalizes on this. This is our main Vaznev build right now. It's a stockless mod. We have it with the 45 round mag. It's a necessity. You know, you're going to want to use the biggest mag possible without impacting your weapon's handling too negatively. So it's going to come with a stockless mod. We're going to throw a 45 round mag on there. And then we're going to move into a hip-fire laser. In this case, the Grimline. It's going to be a green laser. It's going to be always visible. It says visible at the hip, but I'm sure that it's also visible as your ADS. So that's the first priority would be from a tier 1 bot ground loot. It's going to have that stockless mod. So tier 1, or for first build priority, would be throwing the 45 round mag on. Then second priority would be getting a hip fire laser on, and then third priority would be using a vertical foregrip for even better hip fire. And we'll also get some recoil steadiness from that as well. And then finally we'll add a Lacerda compensator for better ADS recoil. That's going to give us horizontal recoil control only. And we're not going to be using this weapon beyond, like, 15 or 20 meters at maximum. This is a really kind of close range SMG, but the Vaznev hits very hard. Doesn't have a high fire rate, but the Vaznev is kind of like a miniature AR in terms of how hard it hits, and it's best at close ranges. The damage drop off on most SMGs is going to be when you start entering that medium range. So if we're running the Vaznev like this with the stockless mod, we're going to actually have improved mobility. We're going to have a higher than normal sprint speed, and mostly you're going to be using your SMG as a running tool. It's obviously a close range fighting tool, but it is going to be your mobility tool. So whatever weapon you're running as your primary, whether that be an AR, an LMG, a sniper rifle, you're usually going to be pairing that with some kind of SMG, and your SMG is going to be the weapon that you want to have pulled out when you're moving across the map. You don't want to be running around with your heaviest weapon for obvious reasons, so we're going to kind of lean into that mobility. So this is what the final build of the weapon would be if we were able to get it to a workbench and have enough resources to build it out properly. But just picking the weapon up off the ground is the configuration that we're going to be practicing with it, and that's just to get us used to all of its characteristics, how it behaves, how it shoots. So we're going to be going into firing range with our selected AR and then with our just a simulated bot Vaznev as our secondary. And I only take in one weapon at a time if I'm coming in naked. I'll avoid putting a weapon in the primary slot to avoid the hand glitch. That's when the game will eat one of your weapons. If I have a backpack, I'll still leave that primary slot empty, and I'll load in weapons on my secondary slot and in the backpack slot, and that will help me to avoid that hand glitch. So we're going to load in here to the firing range and do a cold warm-up. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go to my target dummy menu and I'll select 3 plates, a 3-plate armor system to simulate fully plated enemy operators. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my audio here. And I'm going to switch controllers here. So I'll get myself sat down here and we'll hop into a warm-up. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start to traverse the practice area by tack sprinting and then turning away from the bots and doing a 180. I'm trying to nail this 180 perfectly. So I've got 60 reps in there, roughly. I was able to count that with my just one shot each time until I get an empty mag. And I'm turning away from the bot so that aim assist doesn't drag me, it doesn't affect my aim. As you can see here, as I pass across the bots, it'll kind of slow down my aim there. Alright, so now I'll move into a tracking drill, and I'll go ahead and trace this box that I'm standing in both ways while ADS'd. And then I'll do the same thing with the roof box up here. I'm trying to do that as quickly and as accurately as possible. Then I'll do the same thing in a vertical orientation. And then after that, I'll do a different kind of tracking drill using this fire alarm panel up here. And I'll focus on that with put my crosshairs on it and move towards and away from it in hip fire. As quickly and accurately as I can. And as smoothly as I can without any jerky movements of my aim stick. And I'll set this first target dummy as close to the middle as I can, and I'll do the same thing laterally. And I'll start to speed it up. Then I can move to ADS tracking. So I'll use these first two bays. That'll put the target dummy at 2 of its furthest points. Then I will start to track without rotational aim assist, just with the aim stick in ADS. It's a little jerky there. Then I can do the same thing while moving my feet to engage rotational aim assist. Then I can move into just straight firing. So I'll start at the 10, 20, and 30 meter target dummies, and then I'll start working my way back from 30 to 20 to 10. semi-claw, so I'm using my right index finger to weapon swap, or at least I'm trying to, instead of taking my thumb off the view stick and weapon swapping with my right thumb. Using my right index finger to reload with the square button. So now I'm feeling decently warm, so I'm ready to hop into a normal raid. I can repeat this with any weapon I choose. Let's say if I want to start warming up on my LMGs, I can do the same thing. But now that I'm already warm, I don't have to do my 180 drills if I don't want to. And all the other stuff, I can just go into shooting. is a basic, oops, it is a basic cold warm-up, and I want to do that as I start, as I first load into the game, because that's the only time I'll have all 3 weapon slots available to me. If I want to do this as I've already played a couple games, I've probably already burned 1 or 2 of these slots, so I won't be able to weapon swap or practice with different loadouts. Um, so that's the first thing you want to do when you load into the game is start on your cold warm-up. You only get 1 of those every day. A warm-up from a completely cold state. And we are going to soon move into some regain runs as I need to up my wallet stash here. So we're pretty good on the contraband stash. We have plenty of weapons to work with. We just need now to get cash up to allow us to build those weapons out at a workbench at the start of a raid. So I'm going to call this here. I'm going to resume soon for a part 2. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you learned something here, and I'll catch you guys very soon for part 2.